Brent Hubbs, Tennessee's found its quarterback via the transfer portal to come in here and compete with George McIntyre and, of course, Jake Marklinger.
Yeah, in the first cut we said, things can change within 5 minutes, and this changed so dramatically. We're just going to redo the first part here, as Tennessee has found. It appears they found their quarterback, and everything is getting finalized, dotted and T's crossed and everything to be done with this. But this is the direction that they're moving in, and this is who's going to be Tennessee's third quarterback in the room to join Jake Merklinger and join George McIntyre. And Joey Aguilar, has 2 years starting experience at App State, excuse me, to all the fine folks in Boone. I didn't mean to mispronounce that one, but at App State. And, year 23 was better than 24. I think part of that was some weapons around him, and part of that was kind of where they were in the offensive line. Defensively, they struggled a good bit last year, which probably didn't help. He probably took too many chances, but he's got to be tighter with the ball. But here's a guy who's, thrown for over 7,000 yards and over 60 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. And he's started now 24, 25 football games at the college football level. Tennessee doesn't have 2 quarterbacks combined in their room prior to his arrival that have dressed for 24 football games at the college level, much less played. So you're bringing in a guy with a lot of experience, a guy who's played, but he hasn't played in this system. And now it's game on to see what happens here over the course of the next 100 or so days till Tennessee gets themselves ready to go to Syracuse or go to Atlanta to take on Syracuse in the Kickoff Classic.
Again, Joey Aguilar, 2 years at Appalachian State, as Brent pointed out. He transferred to UCLA in the winter transfer portal. Was there, was in classes. He was, doing spring practice and all that. And then, of course, UCLA showed interest in Nico Iamaleava. Took Nico. Joey Aguilar enters the portal on a Monday officially. Speaks with the UT representatives. Those conversations were ongoing all day long. And then, it was made apparent that he was going to be Tennessee's quarterback towards the end of the day. 23, you mentioned the 2023 season over at Appalachian State. Single season school record for passing yards 3,757, passing touchdowns 33, total offense 4,002 yards. He was Sunbelt Newcomer of the Year. He was honorable mention All Conference this past year when statistically a little bit of a down year compared to 23, but still honorable mention All Conference. He's number 5 on the school's all-time list of touchdown passes with 56, passing yards 6,760. He was the number-ranked 44 quarterback in the On3 transfer portal at the very beginning of this whole thing. So, again, he's going to be behind the 8 ball, and this is the same thing we've talked about this entire process. It's why getting an established Power 4 starter, non-SEC starter, was kind of a long shot in my opinion. He's coming in, not even in the mid-year, right? He's going to be here in the summer. He was not here in spring. He did not play at the Power 4 level last year. Got a ton of experience, Brent, but the challenge for him is to be playing catch-up, and that's what makes this competition so real between him and Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre, because I don't think anything's guaranteed. Sure, he's played a lot of football, but he is as behind the 8 ball as you could possibly be right now whenever he sets foot on campus.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre, I'm not. I mean, let's go compete, because I think I've got a bit of a leg up on you. You've got experience, but I know the offense, and let's go see what happens. And when you're Josh Heupel and Joey Halsley, you had one priority, your one major priority coming out of spring practice. You had to go get somebody to join those 2 in the room. That was a must. There was no options. This was not, well, we'll take somebody if we like them and they're available. This was, we have to add someone to the room. Josh Heupel made that very clear. That priority is done. So now your priority pivots, and it pivots to this. You got 3 guys in that room, and you got to get one of the 3 ready to go play in 2025. Now, you want to get all of them ready to go play, but somebody has to emerge as the guy that can run your offense and execute this offense that you've been tweaking on for the last few months, and has to get up to speed in a hurry, has to get physically better if you're George McIntyre, has to continue to improve like he has the last 6 months in Jake Merklinger. One of those 3 has to emerge as the starting quarterback at Tennessee, and a guy that everybody has confidence in. That's the thing. Everybody on this offense has to believe in whatever guy you end up with. And selecting the right guy is very important. I mean, that there's a lot of dynamics to picking a starting quarterback. I have seen teams go the wrong direction when the coach makes the wrong quarterback choice. I've seen some teams where you make a quarterback choice, it doesn't work, you pivot quickly, and you're okay. But you want to get this right. And so that's the challenge over the next 125, 130 days is who can go win this job. Who's competing in the pool, who can come out of the pool the winner, and we're getting ready to find out. Going to be an interesting and intense offseason because I've written this for today. I mean, this is different. They have as many questions in a lot of ways as they had in 2021 in terms of positions they're trying to find answers to, Eric. But the expectations are, I mean, they are so far apart from where they were in that first season with Josh Heupel to where they are now. This one's going to be intense this summer. They got a lot of work to get done, and it starts at the quarterback spot.
Yeah, I mean, this was a team that is coming off an appearance in the college football playoff. I mean, it's a pretty good roster. It's got a lot of questions, but it's a really good roster, and the expectations are always super high, and they're going to remain that way.
And it's a roster you've invested in. Okay, This is not a in the world we're living in now, this is not a situation where Tennessee's some bargain basement dweller because of their pay. I mean, it's a competitive roster that you have assembled, and that creates expectations, and there's plenty of expectations for this team.
Joey Aguilar, 6'3", about 220. We know, again, we haven't seen an awful lot of George, but we know about George. We know about Jake. Obviously, the passing numbers speak for himself in a different system, albeit. But what type of quarterback is Joey Aguilar? And I recognize you and I both are going to be learning more about this guy over the next couple of days, as will Tennessee fans. But what should Tennessee fans expect in terms of the style of play for Joey Aguilar?
Well, I mean, he's a guy who's thrown it a lot, and I mean, he's comfortable with that. I think he's got a lot of confidence. He probably has taken too many risks at different times, which has got him in trouble, but seems to have a good touch on the deep ball when you look at some highlights. Now, those are highlights, okay? Those are all. There's also lowlights in there and things like that, but I think he's a guy with confidence. I think he is a guy who's comfortable in who he is, and will come in with that confidence. I don't, he's got to work his locker room, and he's got to win over his locker room and that type of thing. But he's a guy who, you expect him to come in and handle things the right way within the framework of the team. And, that's where I will give a guy like Joe Milton a ton of credit while he was here. Joe Milton was a great locker room guy. I'm not going to say he was the greatest leader of all time or anything like that.
Yeah, there's a difference. Yeah.
I don't, and he certainly wasn't the best quarterback to have played through here. But he was a good locker room guy. People liked Joe. He did not come in and upset the apple cart, so to speak, when he arrived in the summer to go out and win that job. So I think that Joey has to come in and be a good teammate first and foremost. I think it's hard to come in from day one and I'm the guy and all those things. I mean, I think you got to get here as quick as you can. As soon as you finish semester schoolwork out there, you get to Knoxville as quick as you can and start getting to know your teammates. But he's clearly a guy who's thrown the ball around the yard a lot, and I think is comfortable doing that. And I go back to a quote Josh Heupel has said multiple times. We've won with tall guys. We've won with short guys. We've won with mobile guys. We've won with strong arm guys. We've won with lesser arm guys. We've won with statue guys. Okay. I mean, you got three in there. Go get one of them ready to go play. And I think Joey is a guy who, because of his experience, has a chance. Now, we'll see what this new system looks like for him. But by all intents and purposes, it seems like a quarterback friendly. We hear it's a quarterback friendly offense, to deal with. And Josh Heupel's no stranger to coming in and learning it in a hurry and figuring out how to play it quickly back in his day. And he's going to have to get it ready for Joey here or whoever the quarterback is, but starting with Joey, because I think you look at his experience and he would logically make the most sense.
Gosh, every time you say Joey, I just think Halsley.
I know. It's going to be an adjustment, but we're going to get there. It's okay. But I'm intrigued by him. I think you have to be careful not to anoint anybody like, okay, this guy's going to go be an all-conference player or, and that type of thing. But I'm intrigued by his experience. And, I mean, he does have some playmaking ability about him when you look at some of the games that they played and some of the App State stuff. I watched that North Carolina double overtime game. I thought he played with a lot of toughness and all that kind of stuff as well. So we'll see.
I know you're not privy to those meetings. I know you're not in the staff meetings. You're not watching film with the coaches and all that. But I mean, realistically, when it came down to it, guys who were in the transfer portal, not, it's the collectives talking to, or agents talking to, reaching out to collectives and all that. I mean, when it was players in the portal, it was only two options, really. Okay. It was Steve Angeli from Notre Dame, and it was eventually Joey Aguilar. Why do you think they valued the potential or the hope, I guess, they were hoping that he would jump in the portal more so than going all in on Steve Angeli from the get-go?
I think it's a resume. I think it's experience. I think it's snaps logged. The amount of playing time that he has had compared to Angeli from Notre Dame. And everybody with Angeli is resting on what he did in a playoff setting, right, against Penn State. I think we've all seen defenses struggle to adjust to what a new quarterback what he does, right? I remember Brian Maurer came in and threw a couple touchdowns, and he was the next anointed one, and then everybody got a book on him and was like,
then there was the second half of that
game.
Right.
Same. I think JT Shrout had a couple of moments like that as well. So I think for this one, it's playmaking ability and it's experience. And look, I mean, Tennessee fans are probably going to get a chance to see Steve up close, right? I mean, there's a good chance he lands at Syracuse, and we'll see if they made the right decision. But I think at the end of the day, the experience factor what was ultimately what Tennessee was banking on more than anything else. I mean, remember this. I mean, Joey Aguilar is a guy who left App State and got a 7-figure deal to go to UCLA.
Yeah.
So it's not like he wasn't thought of by a Power 4 school, back in December. Like, he wasn't highly thought of. Whereas the kid from Notre Dame was just kind of an out of the blue sort of go in, and again, just doesn't have quite as much experience.
Got a guy that was playing at Appalachian State JUCO a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Appalachian State for 2 years, had a couple weeks, if you want to call it, over on the West Coast, which is where he's from. He's a California kid, but at UCLA now, he's coming back to the SEC in this region of the United States. Intrigued to see what he looks like. It's going to be obviously storylines galore with UCLA and Tennessee. When you step back and think about this, literally just swap quarterbacks. Okay, so that's one thing. Potentially with what happens with Angeli, as you mentioned, maybe he's at Syracuse. Maybe that's your week one opponent. College football is wild and crazy. I'm glad Tennessee found a quarterback, and now it's all about getting to work over the course of the next couple of months. School, you say this all the time. School literally doesn't matter anymore. But realistically, how much time can he spend on campus right now? If he's doing online classes, which I have no clue if he is or not, but if he's doing some online classes, you'd think that he could probably start moving down here probably right now.
Well, I've not looked, and this is negligence on my part. I need to do this. I've not looked up the academic calendar at UCLA. Are they a quarter school?
This is all happening fast right now.
Are they a semester school? Tennessee's semester is over in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're basically going to be out of class, out of finals by May 12th, May 15th. And I think it's real simple, man. You get to town as quick as you can.
Yep.
And look, some of your teammates are going to be gone, but you're looking for 3 weeks with the offensive coordinator in a film room, and you were coming in and attacking that thing in a hurry. If you want to be the guy, you better get here. You get here as fast as you can. Joe did a good job of that. Joe got here as quick as he could, and went to work to start learning the offense, and that's what Joey's got to do in this situation.
Tennessee has found a quarterback from the transfer portal will come in and compete with Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre. His name is Joey Aguilar from UCLA by way of Appalachian State for 2 seasons. Looking forward to seeing that. Of course, the transfer portal will remain open until Friday. Tennessee's set to play host to several prospects over the course of the week. Brent Hubbs, who are some headliners? Who should we be on the lookout for this week taking a visit to Tennessee?
Well, Tennessee's had a kid on campus as a defensive lineman. And it's the kid from Central Michigan, Mason Nelson. He was in town on Monday. He leaves today. 6'3", 300-pounder from Western Michigan. In the last 2 seasons with the Broncos, 62 tackles, 13 for loss, 5 sacks. Tennessee's also involved with and is likely going to get on campus Joel Starlings, who's a kid from North Carolina that Tennessee actually offered back in 2021. He's the guy who hasn't lived up to the billing at this point. He committed to Michigan, decommitted from Michigan, ended up at North Carolina. And we'll see. He's also going to visit Mississippi State and Auburn as well. Tennessee's also scheduled to host defensive lineman Marcus Burris, who is from Indiana. He was sidelined in 21 with an Achilles injury when he signed with A&M coming out of high school. This is becoming a trend, by the way. In 22, he played 8 games with the Aggies, and in the last 2 seasons at Indiana, played much more, 34 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. And in Tennessee's schedule, have a couple of receivers in town as well. BYU wide receiver Keelan Marion is supposed to be in sometime this week. We'll see if that actually ends up happening. Ohio State's gotten involved there. Some other big-name schools are involved with him. And then Trayshawn Hurry, who is a wide receiver from San Jose State, is supposed to be in town as well at some point this week. There could be other guys to show up as well. So busy week for Tennessee. Priority was get the quarterback situation done. It appears you've got that done, and now you're looking for a defensive tackle, a receiver, are the 2 other priority positions. We'll see. There could be other positions pop up, but right now that's kind of what you're looking at is get your quarterback some help. Get these quarterbacks some help. You're thin at the receiver room. You got 7 scholarship guys. You'd like a guy with some experience who's got a little playing time under his belt, if you can. So we'll see what that looks like when they try to add one more of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, again, the moves so fast. The first taping of this podcast, Joey Aguilar was not even in the transfer portal, and now we had to recap the whole thing. But I was thinking about that when you're talking about all those defensive tackle bodies. I saw some threads on the board like, is Chop and Rodney the only ones working the transfer portal? Because there's so many names. You got the quarterback. You mentioned some receivers. I know we got to go here, but it can't hurt with these receivers now that's like, okay, here's our 2 guys who are already been on roster. Here's our 3rd from the portal. This is our plan. Do you want to come be a part of like getting another quarterback? It can't hurt with the receiver pursuit in the transfer portal, right?
Well, no, I mean, it can't. And then you got 2, if they come in for a visit, they can visit with the 2 quarterbacks here. And, I would think Joey Aguilar would want to work the phones and want to talk to those guys as well, get him on the phone, have conversations and try to go that way. I think it's a little easier to get people interested at the defensive line position. One, given Tennessee's history of defensive linemen under Rodney Garner and the development process there, and you play more bodies. Mm-hmm. The thing with the quarterback deal, man, those guys just don't move, particularly this time of year. They're established with an OC, established with their team. I always felt like it was going to be really hard to get somebody who was really settled in and established as the guy to make a move. And ultimately, this move happened because Aguilar felt like he was going to be the guy at UCLA, and then they bring in Nico, over top of him, and
Madden,
yeah,
and Madden.
So it's like, hey, I'm out of here. So if Nico ended up going somewhere else, this kid doesn't go into portal. Joey Aguilar doesn't go into portal. He stays at UCLA, but because they went and got another quarterback and Nico, obviously he felt like it was time to make a move if an opportunity presented itself, and it did with Tennessee. But it's easier to get more involved with guys at positions where you're playing more bodies than it is to get involved with one guy who's not going to very publicly say, hey, I'm going in the portal and take 5 visits. I mean, how many quarterbacks can you name that took 5 visits when they went to transfer portal, or 3 visits in the portal when, go back to December's window? Carson Beck didn't go shopping around a bunch of schools. The kid at South Alabama in this portal cycle ended up going to North Carolina. It's the only place he didn't even visit there. He just went there. Even the kid at Fair State went to Ole Miss, just went there. I think Jaden Rashada may have taken a couple of visits, but he's taken like 25 visits in his 3 different transfer stops. So most of the quarterbacks don't make a lot of public moves. They know where they're going when they go in, and then they go there. And that's why it's different than recruiting other positions in the portal.